Hello, happy Friday the 13th? Okay, it is Friday the 13th. And what a perfect week to end, especially with the Friday the 13th in it. And especially when you're talking about Sheila Carter.
That was something else.
It was something else. I don't know. I made a separate video specifically talking about yesterday. So I don't know if you actually got to see it. I did post it in the groups on Facebook yesterday, and it created a frenzy, to say the
Oh my
least.
goodness. I unfortunately have not had a moment to do anything extra just because I've been working so much, but I look forward to watching it.
Okay, no, you know what? I'll send you the link to the video.
Ooh, thank you.
Yeah, so you can check out what I had to say. Now, listen, I'll talk more about it, when we get into the bold and beautiful section of the podcast. But yeah, it created a definite stir, to say the least.
Wow. Oh, how
Okay.
exciting.
All right, so welcome you guys to CBS Soapdish Recap, where Trish and I recap both The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful. And this is for the week of May 9th through May 13th. And normally, what we do give our commentary, we give various different opinions. So it's not all one sided, or because we know you guys, hey, it's a lot of different thought processes out there. So we talk about as many angles as possible. So I want you guys to know that. But we start off with The Young and the Restless in the first half of the show. Second half of the show is The Bold and the Beautiful. And then we have what is called a flip the script segment at the end, where if there's a particular scene or a particular storyline that you guys wish we could change or we wish we could change, that's where we flip the script. So let's jump into this and unpack all of the drama this week. I will say it was pretty interesting this week, especially with what they're doing with Victoria, and I mean Adam and Sally. We'll get into that because I didn't know how Adam was going to try to take over Newman. But you know what? I'm a little bit interested in seeing how this option works. So we'll talk about that. And then, of course, this whole thing with Sheila Carter. And then we also got to still talk about Quinn and Carter and also Eric and Donna. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff. I think Bold and the Beautiful was it really had a lot of moving parts this week. So, you know,
It did. I was excited to see that because sometimes it takes a couple of weeks to get through stuff.
yeah, it does. And one thing about Bold, they usually move their storylines pretty quickly. So, yep. All right, so let's jump into The Young and the Restless without any further ado. So I'm going to give a general summary for the week and then we'll break down the separate storylines. Okay, so for Young and the Restless this week, the Abbotts demand answers from Diane. Jack introduces Allie to the Abbotts. Then we have Michael is happy to see that Diane is alive. And then Adam schemes to become CEO of Newman Enterprises. And then last but not least, Mariah and Tessa prepare for their wedding, and Tessa's sister is back. All right. Okay, so which storyline you want to unpack this week? Well, which one you want to start with first, I should say.
Well, let's start with the Abbott
Okay.
since it starts with A and it's the first letter of the alphabet.
Okay, let's start with the as they say in alphabetical order. Okay, so what did you think about the whole meeting at and I have a few crazy things to say about this, but what was your thoughts on this whole meeting that the Abbotts had with Diane that Kyle orchestrated?
there was a lot there.
Okay.
They, of course, um, just being flabbergasted that Diane's been alive the whole time and is only just now coming forward to her son.
Mhm.
Um, with the heinousness of that, I still couldn't help but think about the hypocrisy
Mhm.
of Ashley and
Mhm.
Abby. And it was interesting to see Billy be the one who was actually more toward the leaning toward forgiveness. But when Ashley started going off, all I could think of, and I love Ashley, but it was like, oh my gosh, some of the things you've done. I mean, Abby exists because you stole sperm.
That's
So
what I said. And I said the exact same thing. I'm like, I know she's not going there. You stole this man's sperm to get a child with Victor Newman. Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
exactly. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I did kind of have a dropped jaw on that, but yeah, I did want them actually to be a little harder on Diane than they were. Um, because I just don't understand how you could leave your child thinking that you're dead. Uh, I can't wrap my head around that at all. And when they bring the characters back, it's great to see Diane again. She's an interesting, fun character to watch because of the mayhem she creates. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, the poor kid, because Kyle inside that grown man's body, there's just that little 11 or 12-year-old kid in there wondering what did he do so wrong that his mother would abandon him now that he knows that she was alive.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, just to address that part of what you were just saying, I asked this question to another fan, and I said, would you, as a child, and your parent came back and you thought she was there, would you understand where she was coming from, or will you totally disagree with it? And the answer and response that came from that person, and they were a male, because I know sometimes, we women, we can be really opinionated and we think from so many different angles. But
Hmm.
we also talking about Kyle. So as a young man, how would you think about that? And the response was, honestly, I understand, like you said, the 11-year-old child saying this because that part of you is, you that part of him being that young child who remembers that moment, it still
Hmm.
exists in him.
Right.
The adult in him is looking like, well, and this is how they answered it. The adult part of him is saying, you know what, it makes sense because of the fact that Diane would have been on the run. Kyle's life would have not turned out the way that it had.
Right.
He still had the support of the Abbotts. He had definitely Jack in his life. He runs Jabot from an international level. He has this wife. He has a child. They're doing well. They're living in Paris. Is it Paris or Milan? They're living in Milan.
Mhm.
So, the person I was talking to, they said when you look at it like that, it was actually for the greater good because there is no way if Diane took that kid on the run that the Abbotts would have stopped looking for him. They would have had the police, they would have got her for kidnapping, they would have did all types of things.
Right.
So it would have been a nightmare to drag your kid down that rabbit hole that you're already headed in. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does make sense. And, I think it was what Diane did was both selfish and selfless
Yes. It's a
because it
double-edged
definitely
sword.
served her. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. It served her purpose.
Yep. Now, my response in regards to that whole meeting, I think it was an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think that it was is because nobody in that room is going to be objective. The only two people, like you said, Billy, the other person was almost Tracy because she was
Hmm.
mediating when Ashley and Abby started running off at the mouth, or Jack said something out the side of his neck. Tracy was the one, I'm serious. Tracy was the one that was like, well, wait a minute. Let's look at it this way, or let him talk, or let Diane talk. So she became the mediator. And, it just, at the end of all of that, Kyle still was unsure.
Right.
Because again, as I said this to you before, and we've said this about Adam, if a person do not want to change how they feel about you, you could be an angel and they will still hate you.
Right.
So there is nothing right now, especially because he was like, you know what, I'm gonna surprise her in real fashion, and we're gonna give her the old-fashioned Abbott treatment and put her on the spot. But what does that prove? Because the thing is, in your mind, you've already set in stone that you don't think she's changed. So what could she do in the 10 minutes or 20 minutes of that conversation that was going to do anything to help Kyle in his decision?
Yeah, you're right. Nothing. The answer
Nothing.
is nothing.
And
The
he
answer
go
is
ahead.
nothing.
Go ahead. What were you about to say?
Oh, I just was rambling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The answer is just nothing.
Just nothing. And at the end of that, he realized that he was more confused as ever because Ashley was just not having it. She was calling her the B word, you know. And like you said earlier, the hypocrisy of the both of them.
Hmm.
It's like, really? I mean, seriously, you mean excuse me, you mean to tell me you're going to hold her to the fire when you guys have done a ton of things to people in your family, to other people in General City? I mean, seriously. So
Well,
I'm
I mean,
go
look
ahead.
at what Abby did to Summer.
I know, right?
I mean, she had an affair with her, wait, yeah, her niece's husband.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
And
everybody just swept that under the rug. Like that literally got swept under the rug.
yep,
And then then Summer went away. And then when Summer came back, everybody was just bashing Summer. Snowflake,
exactly.
snow, all that stuff. It was like, what did Summer ever do to deserve any of that treatment from Abby? She was never nothing but nice to Abby before Abby cheated on her husband. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
right.
so
Cheated with her
I don't
husband, yeah.
how she got that bad rap in the first place. But yeah, Abby was I actually chuckled out loud
Mhm.
when Diane mentioned riding naked on the back of a horse.
Yeah, and that's why I was so proud of Billy. Now he doesn't give that same credence to Adam, but he gives it to Diane, when he was
Right.
like, I've done some bad things in my life too. I really can't judge her and blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like the same conversation that Deacon had with with um his daughter and Brooke today,
Yep.
and he was like, yeah, people say the same thing about me. Yeah, but you're different. It's all, and see, that's why I'm saying how you choose to feel about somebody can change based on the person that you're around. If I don't like you and I don't want to like you, that's how that whole thing would go. Now, me myself, I don't roll like that unless you've done something, and then if you come back and you say, "Well, I want to make it up to you, I'm going to give you the opportunity to
Yeah.
show
I feel the
otherwise."
same way.
Right. But in this scenario, it's always, and it's the same thing with the Abbotts, with some of them, the Newmans definitely, and the Foresters, because they're so hypocritical.
Oh, well, yeah, I think it's the platinum spoon they all have in their mouths.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well throw the Logans in there too. They're not exempt from that either.
No, no. Although I will say, in their case, they didn't grow up with it. So when it comes down to the humbling
Hmm.
of themselves, they really do that well.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so yeah, I just think that was a waste of time. He did end up going to speak to his mom anyway, and there's a part of him that really wants to believe her, but then there's the part where I think he's. You remember how when Sharon wanted to, back before Ray came on the scene, and when Sharon really wanted to give Adam a chance and maybe even be his girlfriend. But because she was so afraid of what everybody else in General City thinks,
Yeah.
it kept her from moving anything forward with Adam. And I think this is what the issue is with Kyle. If people just take a step back and say, you
Hmm.
know what, I'm going to support whatever decision that you make, and I'll be here for you. You know what has happened in the past, but it's your decision. I think that takes that pressure off of him.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
I mean, because he probably wants to move forward, but he's so worried about what his dad is going to think and what Ashley's going to think and what Summer and the Newmans and everybody else, because all those people are intertwined with him, because you got an Abbott marrying a Newman, so their decisions matter to him.
Yeah, definitely they do. And oh yeah, yeah, that's gonna be tough because Summer came through the door. She's
Yeah,
coming through the door, so I yeah, that'll bring the Newmans right back to the forefront of this story.
I think that's where, and I've talked about this yesterday quickly on that other thing I did for Sheila and Steffi. When it comes to relationships with kids and parents, you gotta let them figure that out. People interfering with that is going to blow up.
It always does.
It always does. When you have it's different if this is a child who's 7, 8 years old, and there was something egregious that the mom did something horrible or the dad did something horrible. Then by all means, you want to protect the child. And granted, some things did happen with the two people that we got to talk about today, which is Diane and Sheila.
Right.
However, as adults, when you have Kyle and even Finn at the time, you got to let them figure that out.
Yeah.
You got to take a step back and say, hey, you know what she did to us. You know this, that, and the third. But I'm going to allow you to be an adult and let you think and figure it out. You cannot control things, it usually blow up in your face. So, anywho, um, Kyle, well, more than likely, of course, with Summer coming in, and Kyle looked like he's going to be around because they recasted, Summer Newman, because Hunter King is not coming back.
Right.
So that means that those two are going to be in town for a while, which means I would think Diane is going to be around for a while.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he let her give him a hug, and you could see some of the emotion turn from anger to relief of having a mom hug again.
Right, right. Yeah, I actually shed a tear. And I guess this hits home for me because there's no way both my kids lost their dad in their early teens in death. And so by
Sorry.
whatever divine intervention, just say he was to come back, there is no way I would stand in the way in the
Oh,
way of
absolutely.
that.
I agree. I mean, we're talking about death here, not just running off. We're talking about gone, like gone.
Gone,
I agree.
but
I
if
agree.
he came back and was like, you know what, I had to get my life together, or just I'm using Diane's story to add to this. If I had to get my life together and I want to be the best person and get my head in therapy and whatever, like, just say Diane. I'm not saying that that was his situation, but I'm using Diane's speaking piece.
Right.
There's no way I'd be like, you know what, kids, especially because they're adults. My kids are now in their 20s,
Hmm.
and so go ahead.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Definitely deserve to make your own decisions at that age.
Exactly. They need to figure that out,
Yep.
and say, hey, let me see this person for who they are. If they show me that they're having changed and they were the same person, like in Sheila and Diane's case back in the day, then you know what? I'm going to remove myself from the relationship. That's it.
Right. But at least then you're making an informed, educated decision. It's not being hidden from you. I think that's
Exactly.
always the worst part of some of these storylines is the hiding of the information. It's like, just tell them already.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. I'm glad I was. Because remember, the only reason that Jack took a step back on this situation is because of Phyllis. Because Phyllis was like, as much as I can't stand Diane, Kyle need to figure that out. I was actually shocked with her doing that because nobody hates Diane more than Phyllis.
Right. Yeah, and
So
when they did those flashbacks of the pool scene, so many things came, back to me. It was like, wow, I've completely forgotten about that.
hmm
I completely forgotten about that. And I remember the scene where Phyllis came out and they had Diane go away and she hopped in the pool naked. They were skinny dipping, and I remember busting out laughing years and years and years and years ago at that very scene. It was so funny.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so I thought that was really big of her because Phyllis can be real petty.
Yes.
And so it was big of her to tell Jack, you know what, as much as I can't stand, Jack, wait a minute, as much as I can't stand Diane, Jack, you need to let Kyle figure this out between him and his mom. And she was absolutely correct. I had to give her kudos on that one. So,
Definitely.
um, but it made it worse. Like I said, that whole conversation with Kyle and with Kyle, Diane, and the Abbotts, it was a waste of time.
It was. It was. But I loved, okay, so that brings me to the whole. I was kind of a little miffed when he was so mono focused about what was going on in his own life that he was going to go up and pack. And then I was so relieved when he showed up at Mariah's to tell her I was packing and remembered I made a commitment to you. And so I didn't leave.
Okay, you know what? I thought that was really cool, but up
I did
until that
too.
moment, I was really not happy with Mariah, and I'll tell you why. So it was one thing she didn't even know that he was in town. And
Right.
then she dropped this in his lap. This man got a lot of stuff going on. His mom, who he thought was dead for the last 12 years, is back. When somebody says something, I'll be like, okay, you need to go figure that out. You got a lot on your plate.
Right.
But she made it about her in that moment. It's like, oh my God, you're in town. Officiate the wedding. Go online, click this button, do this. And then when she didn't hear from him, she was in this frenzy, like, how can he do this to me? I can't believe he's doing it. And I'm like, Mariah, the man's mom he thought was dead is back.
She's risen like a phoenix from the ashes.
Exactly. You got to give him a little bit of space from that. And thank God, of course, he did show up. And I was relieved because I'm like, Mariah, come on. Because originally she was going to have Devon do it.
Right. Right.
So I'm glad that Kyle was able to kind of figure it out and make it work, and Summer's coming to town so he can stay. I mean, he was kind of hesitant about doing it, but he decided to do it anyway. So
Yeah. But for the most part, other than his bickering with Billy,
hmm
Kyle has always been kind of the nice guy.
pretty much, pretty much. Yep. I'm trying to think when he was the other Kyle. Remember the tall guy before
Uh,
Michael Mueller came onto the
with the
show?
long hair.
Yeah. I didn't he play? Wasn't he trying to go up against his father or something? I'm trying to remember that because there was some issues at some point.
Was he
Kyle.
going against Jack or was he going against Billy?
I don't remember. I'm
I
trying to
can't
remember.
remember. Oh, that drives me crazy when I can't remember something like this.
Right. I'm trying to remember. But anywho, but you're pretty much right. I mean, Kyle has really not had too many crazy issues, on
No.
the show. He's been pretty much a good guy. I can't think of anything where he had a storyline where, you know, he was out of pocket with something.
Mm-mm. No.
Nope, nope, nope. So, okay. Let's just go ahead and talk about this wedding. So Crystal is back.
Thanks to Ray.
Thanks to Ray, I know. They
It
really
was,
threw a storyline together after they fired him.
I mean, seriously, unceremoniously buried. I
Yeah,
mean, and then Sharon leaves for the trip, and then Sharon's back from the trip. And
exactly. I thought that was crazy. I was
it,
like, really?
I mean, really?
It was after a commercial, wasn't it? Or was it the next
Yeah, or
episode?
was it the next day?
Girl, I
I
don't.
can't. I'm all run together this week. I got to tell you, I've been way too busy to keep things straight. But it annoyed me a little bit because everybody liked Ray.
Hmm.
Ray never did anybody wrong, and they were having this last minute thrown together service, and
Hmm.
they go to the service, and then they're back from the service. You
It,
don't see the service, you don't hear anybody talk nice about Ray, and then she goes to Miami with his ashes alone, and she comes back from Miami without his ashes. And oh, it was a great service, but of course, obviously, didn't see the service. But yeah, I kind of thought the character got basically just shoved under the rug in a corner.
yeah, I mean, it was. They're really trying to hurry up and end that storyline. That's what they're doing, because, like you said, there was first of all they're having a service in Miami, so that took that whole thing away. Then the little service that they had in GC, it was like you say, we're headed, we're back. And then she was like, okay, I got to go to Miami. She's gone, she's back. And yeah,
Hmm.
they want this storyline to be over quick, fast, in a hurry. Yep.
Yeah, they definitely did.
So,
Disappointing.
yeah, very. I actually thought that the wedding was supposed to be today, but I'm assuming that because they kept talking about March 13th. Now, I do know in soap opera time, a day can be 3 episodes. So,
Or
March 13th.
sometimes the character wears the same outfit for like 2.5 weeks. It's like, when are they going to let the character change clothes?
Exactly. So I didn't know what to expect with today because when I was like, oh yeah, today is May 13th, so they're gonna do the wedding episode. And when I saw pretty much them just still planning, I'm like, yeah, May 13th is gonna drag into probably May 20th. So
Right. Gosh.
yeah, but anywho, I did see Young and the Restless post a clip on Instagram where they actually showed the set of where the wedding is going to be. They did an excellent job. That place is
Looks
gorgeous.
amazing.
Did you see it?
Yes. I watched
Oh,
the video before because I had sent you that text, and I was sitting here and I did a little bit of recruiting, and then I looked over and I saw there was a new video posted, and I watched it, and it was the whole walk through the room. Wow, man, I'd have a party there.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dang, that would be the perfect spot for somebody to have a social gathering.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the top of the towers, right?
Oh, I think so.
So it's not at Phyllis's hotel.
No,
So it's at the top of the tower. So I wonder, are we ever going to get the GC Athletic Club back, or if that
I
set's
don't think so. I think they've made the focal point Phyllis's hotel as being the
so.
go-to spot now.
Yeah,
They
I kind of
probably
miss it.
got rid of
I
that
love
old
I
set.
love the hotel that she has, but at the Grand Phoenix. But I kind of miss GCAC.
Yeah, I remember that from back in the day, and it looked like this restaurant, low lit vibe, and then you go up the stairs to your rooms and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was warm and cozy feeling, but still lush.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so we talked about that. We talked about Sharon. Let's move on to the whole thing about the plan to get Victoria and Ashlyn back together.
That's a little diabolical, but I'm here for
I
it.
know, because I was
Sally and
like,
I love them together.
well, here's the thing though. Because remember when we had our podcast last week,
Hmm.
last week when we were talking about how Adam is going to take over Newman, I want all of it. I'm like, oh, this is going to blow up in his face. Remember
Mhm.
we said that?
Yes, we did.
And so when I saw the episode this week between him and Sally, where they were like, you know what, we need to get those two back together. And if we do, Victor's going to be pissed. She's going to be out, and we're going to be in.
And it's such an unassuming plan.
I know. I actually like it just
I do
for the
too.
soap opera drama of it.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for, right? Oh my
Exactly.
God.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because we saw well they talked about it yesterday. So in episode for May 12th. So for today we saw Sally kind of work the magic a little bit.
She did work the magic, and I gotta say, Adam didn't, pony up to her and tell her how to do anything or what to say or anything, and kind of went a little rogue on her own and has her own little diabolical spiel going on, and that was just really fun to watch.
It was. It really, really was. And it's just interesting that the conversation between because Victoria loves to try to throw darts at you to get you to react.
Yeah.
She does that with everybody. She finds something that she can get up under your skin with. She hurls out those little insults, or she's passive aggressive with it just to get you unsettled, get you pissed off, get you mad, whatever. Sally handled it like a champ.
She absolutely did. She knows how to work a room, and I love the fact that she doesn't let Victoria get to her because that gets to Victoria.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was kind of nervous about the fact that Sally told her about everything in LA with Wyatt, but I forgot Victor already knows about it because I didn't know if Victoria was going to use that against her or whatever. She faked the blah, 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 blah. But Victor already knows about that. So it's not like she can just use that against her, um, you know. But anywho, um, yeah, she was like, "Listen, I people do crazy stuff for love. I did this, and I played sick, and and it didn't work out. He didn't end up being with me, and she played that very well. And then, what did you think about her conversation with Ashley?
It was every bit as enjoyable to watch because it was
Mm-hmm.
short. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't try to befriend him.
Nope.
She didn't insult him. She didn't compliment him. There
Mm-mm.
was no ulterior motive. And it's believable because she's the one who flew over there to get the wedding dress worn. So, of course, she loves Rome. She's a hopeless romantic.
Exactly. Exactly. He was like, "Well, what business is this of yours? Why do you even care?" And she was like, "You know what? It's not my business. I'm just a hopeless romantic." And she walked off. I was
Right.
like, I'm clapping like that. You
Me
go,
too.
girl.
Yes. And she did not look back.
She had Adam knows who he's working with. Because here's the other thing. Let's go back to Victoria. Victoria tried to use her behavior as an insult. No wonder you're with Adam because you both do nefarious things. And I'm like, girl, please, your own daddy do nefarious things.
Thank you.
You do nefarious things. Come on.
Hmm.
That's how all this thing started. And I don't want to keep rehashing that from last year. But you were part of the problem of how this man got into your life in the first place because you wanted his company thinking he was going to die in the next 4 months.
That's the truth.
So cut it out. So was she sitting back trying to point the finger at Sally about, oh my God, no wonder you're both together because you both are in the same. Stop.
Exactly.
It runs in the family.
It comes from the DNA.
It runs in the DNA exactly. So she need to cut it out.
Right.
But yeah, I got to give it to my girl Sally. She know what she's doing. I honestly think not only does they make a good power couple in business, meaning Sally and Adam,
Uh-huh.
if they want to put a plan together, they are awesome at it.
I agree. I agree. Because they're both so good at reading people. unstoppable. And
Yep.
together, I hope Y&R makes the unstoppable duo.
It would be nice. That's why I was hoping, and I've said this before, that they made them a power couple with their own company.
Yes.
I honestly want him to just let go of Newman. Do your own thing.
There's a part of me that wants him to do that, but there's the other part of me that's like, just take it.
Yeah, but the problem is he got to still deal with Nikki.
Yeah,
And then, he's going to always be under Victor's thumb. I mean, he's never going to
that's
be able to run that company the way he wants to because Victor's always going to be in his ear.
that's true. I mean, it is his, well,
It's
it is his
exactly.
company.
So that's why I'm like, dude, get your own company. You call the shots and you take this thing to the atmosphere with how big it can grow and let them cry in their beer.
No joke. Or their expensive scotch.
Exactly.
$150.
Because here's the thing, you want to be if Victoria want competition, okay, cool. Let her stay right where she is. Give her a run for her money and let the best person win.
Yeah.
So I mean that's just my thoughts. So anywho. All right. So what do you think about this? Look like Diane has a new ally, and that's Michael.
So I was trying to remember what was their relationship
Uh,
before.
that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, what is? Because he was like, "I'm glad to see you're alive and you're back," and she was even shocked. She was like, "Wait a minute, am I being punked?"
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I didn't have time to go back and look anything up, so I don't remember what their
Yeah,
relationship
I don't.
was
I'm
back all those
trying
years
to.
ago. But I know they had a lot of scenes together. They had a lot of crossover storylines together with the different families and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I know I remember Mara West when she played Diane,
Mm-hmm.
with her bob haircut, the
Mm-hmm.
blonde bob haircut, and she was upset with Michael, and she would go, Michael, with that voice. But that's all I can remember. I can't remember what was their relationship like. But I
Oh my
remember
goodness.
her scolding the way she spoke his name out.
Okay, gotcha.
That's all I've got.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know why. There's a part of Michael that is, well, I don't want to. First of all, are we? Because before I move on to Michael, Lauren, and Victor, was there anything else that we need to say about her and Mike, Diane and Michael? No.
No, because it was just a real short scene, and then
Okay.
it was Michael talking to Victor about it. Now Victor's got some new plan for Ashley going, so I guess we'll see next week what that's all about.
Look like everybody has some plans for Ashlyn.
Right? What
Yeah,
if that means
because
he's going to end up dead, and they're all going to be suspects?
yeah,
That's
did
what
you
we
see
find out.
Nikki kind of threaten him at the coffee house?
I did.
So yeah, and then you got the plan that Ashlyn, I mean that Sally and Adam has. You got
Uh-huh.
the plan that Nikki is like, we gonna do whatever it takes to get you out of here,
Right.
whatever that means permanently. And then this whole plan with Victor and Michael. Now,
Right.
before their, I get well, no, because he had a conversation with his wife after talking to Victor, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't understand. Are you his lawyer or are you a henchman? I don't get it.
Exactly, because I mean, legally the two can't be the same thing.
No. I mean, he's playing in these dark waters with Victor, and Victor's just using him to do dirty work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, there's nothing that Michael is doing regarding the court system or lawsuits for Victor or anything. It's him running, being an errand boy to figure out what's going on with Ashlyn. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he's getting paid the big bucks to do it.
I, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand it.
I don't get it. I
You
don't
go
get
from
it.
lawyer to DA to lawyer to DA to retired to lawyer.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, let me ask you this. So let's move to the conversation that he had with his wife. And of course, Lauren is not happy about the project that
Mm-hmm.
Victor is giving him. Michael is like, if you want me to retire, you need to retire too.
Right, and you know Lauren's not gonna retire.
She was like, he was like, how you gonna have me retire and sit at home, but you're not going to retire and leave your job? So if you want me to retire, you got to retire too. What do you think about that?
You know, I don't blame him. I'd be bored stiff
Yeah, I mean,
sitting home by myself. I mean, yeah, but there's only so many day spas you can go to. There's only so many tennis matches you can have in retirement or playing golf or whatever it is that you would choose to do in retirement. Go fishing or whatever. I mean, how much of that can you do? And then all of your mental energy is just spinning around in there. What are you supposed to do with that?
exactly. And she's like, okay, well, because she's not quitting. She was like,
Uh-uh.
no, I got to run my company, my dad's company, this, that, and the third. And he's like, okay, well, if you going to continue to do what you do, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing.
Right. I don't blame him.
I mean, she couldn't say anything to that. She couldn't say anything because technically, if he does go in retirement, which means at this point in his life, he wants to go and travel and see the world, he's going to want to do that with her.
Right. You don't want to do that by yourself.
Right. I mean, especially at that age. So,
You have a perfectly good partner to go with you.
yeah, but that's the thing. He's not going to be able to do that with Lauren being in the office. So that's another reason why he was like, "Hey, you want me to retire? We can spend to travel the world together and do all these different things, but you're going to have to retire too for us to do all that." So,
Right.
of course she let it go because she's not going to stop working at her company, and so Michael is like, "Well, I'm still going to work for Victor."
Yeah, just don't take any assignments going to a foreign country where you might get arrested and thrown into jail for something you didn't do.
Well, listen, this is how because remember, Lauren blamed Victor for that. And
Uh-huh.
his response was, no, that's not Victor's fault. That was Ashlyn's fault, which
Yeah,
he
he
had a
did. Yeah,
point.
true. It's true.
It was true. She couldn't say anything to that because Victor told him to just go down there, get some information, and come back home. Ashlyn
Right.
found out about it and threw him in the jail. So, I mean, honestly, he was kind of telling the truth right there.
He was. There was no lie.
Nope, no lies, no lies. So, okay. Let's see. Did we miss what else do we have for the Young and the Restless this week? If you can remember anything. Oh, one other small thing. This whole thing with the $250 million. And Nick is he is just not, and I'm looking at him like, dude, it doesn't matter what Ashlyn does or your sister do with this. You got $250 million to do
Uh,
great things with.
exactly. I mean, can you like I try so hard. I know this is pretend, but this kind of stuff does happen in real life too. And you try to even fathom that much money.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of lives changed. You would have to
Exactly.
take that money. You couldn't even. I mean, as long as it stays anonymous, you have to take that money.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's
And if
the other. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, I was going to say, if it slips out later, well, then, you've got everything down that said, hey, listen, I gave my word not to say who it was. They wanted to stay anonymous. If someone else leaked it out, I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Exactly. And the thing is that what more do you want from the man? He put Ray Rosales, put it in his name. He
Hmm.
wants to stay anonymous. What do you care about that?
Exactly. You're done. Take the
You're
money and
done.
be grateful.
I
Yeah.
mean, and the thing is, Victoria had already told him to do it.
Yeah.
Already told him to do it. And then he still feels like, well, maybe Sharon can talk me out of it.
Well,
Sharon was like, no, that can
take
help
it.
a lot of lives.
Right.
And
Yeah,
he,
sure, it knows what it's like to be poor.
well, and the other thing is that Nick is looking at her like he was a deer in headlights. And I'm like, dude, why are you shocked by that? Take the money, put it in whatever fund that you have, start getting the blueprints together to build housing and whatever apartments, homes, condos, or whatever you got, and move on.
Mhm.
The issue that Nikki and him have is, well, he's just doing this to get back in good graces with Victoria. If Victoria doesn't get back with him, it doesn't mean
It
anything.
does not matter. It's a non-issue.
It's a
Yeah,
non-issue, you know.
yeah.
So I that whole thing was just crazy to me. I'm like, dude, take the money and run and shut up about
I would have taken it the first time he mentioned it. Okay, yeah, okay, we're good. You want my
it.
sister back? I'll put in a good word for you, buddy.
And here's the other thing: it's Newman money. All it did was
It's
change
still Victor.
hands. That's your daddy's money.
Exactly. You're just getting it back.
You just getting it. It's just moving. That's all it's doing. It's not like Ashland went and ran a scam in another country or something, and then say, "Here's some money." This is Newman money.
Right, right.
All it did was transfer from one account to the other, and then back to another Newman's account. That's it.
Exactly. That's all it did.
Yeah, that whole thing was crazy. Okay, I think we covered everything, right?
I think so. Allie met the family.
Okay, yes, Allie met the family. That was brief, and then she broke down in tears.
So yeah, I mean, I did read about that relationship with her mom,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I mean, I kind of felt like it was a really forced scene. I mean,
Okay.
I well, I'm glad she's leaning on Jack.
Hmm.
I'm grateful she came where she has family.
Hmm.
I'm very hopeful that they don't turn her character into somebody that's trying to take advantage of that. I really want this to be a good thing and peaceful.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm wondering if they're going to bring the mom onto the show.
That's what I was thinking too. Now that she knows that her daughter's in touch with the Abbots have money. Why does she not have a relationship with her mom? Why did her mom leave chemo? What's the scoop?
Yeah, there's some unanswered questions there. So
Yeah,
that's probably coming down the line. But we only got very little from that whole interaction. So
yeah, it was just a couple minutes.
yeah. I'm trying.
That was it. I don't remember. I can't think of anything else.
I'm trying to think to see um if okay, let me make sure. I'm trying to go through all the characters to see if I'm missing anything. I don't think so. I think we covered everything for this week with the soap. So okay. I mean with Young and the Restless. So. All right. Let's move on to the bold and the beautiful. And I'm going to give the summary for this week. So, for the week of the ninth, Steffi remembers every detail about her shooting. Steffi asks for a chance to confront Sheila. Steffi blasts Sheila as a cold blooded murderer. Sheila blames Steffi for Finn's death. And then in today's episode, that whole saga at Steffi House continues, and the truth comes out about what she did to Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before we jump into the whole, because that's going to be one big chunk, let's kind of talk about this whole thing with Quinn and Carter and Donna and Eric. So it seems that Quinn is trying to stay clean with this whole thing with Carter. They admit they had feelings or they still think about each other, but I think they're still putting a boundary there. What do you think?
I agree, and I think there's the undertones are there, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely not crossing any lines. And I really do think that she just absolutely loves Eric, and I'm going to be so upset when this all comes up and blows up because I love Eric and Quinn together.
I do
Um,
too.
they make a fantastic couple. They're a beautiful couple. I love whenever they have, the parties at the house, and I just think Rena Sofer is so beautiful, and I love her as the matriarch because it causes so much grief for other people on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And Donna and the honey bear, we've done that. Eric is using her. Um, I mean, I don't like that because I don't remember Donna ever doing anything untoward like this. Did she cheat with Eric when Eric was married to Stephanie?
I don't remember. That's been
I
so
don't
long
remember.
ago.
I'm sure your listeners will tell us. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Right, exactly.
I don't remember how they wound up getting together in the first place, but I thought that Eric was separated or definitely going to be leaving whomever he was with at the time. Um, but I really didn't. Donna to me is the sweet Logan.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to circle back to what you were saying about using. She knows the position that she's in.
She absolutely knows, and she's allowing herself to be in it. And I
Yeah.
just,
I mean, this man is clearly married. She knows the wife. She knows the situation, whatever that is. If Eric is not getting fulfilled or getting a rise from his
right.
wife, and Eric is now coming back, circling back to Donna, but Donna's allowing it. She's giving him the access.
Yes, she is. She is.
So it's not like it'll be different if he was like trying to manipulate the situation and
Yeah.
saying, hey, what, you don't have to do anything, just come over, and then all of a sudden he
Yeah.
seduces her. She knows exactly what she's doing.
But, I just, they're joking around and
Mm-hmm.
they're laughing, and then Quinn calls, and they know the reality and the severity of the situation, regardless of what happened with Quinn and Carter. Eric made an issue of it, and then he created a scenario with it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that scenario ended, and
Mm-hmm.
he was then saying he was committed.
Correct.
And to now do this is really demeaning to them supposedly getting, moving past that. And I don't know. I just don't. And I know he's not doing it because of that. He's
Mm-hmm.
doing it because he's very selfish and he's
Mm-hmm.
getting his swing on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So
I
I
don't know.
agree with you. I agree with you
Just,
because as much as as much as I as much as Donna is knowing the position that she's in, Eric is being disrespectful to his wife now. Now, there's a ton of people on Facebook who probably won't agree with me and say, "Oh, this is karma," but we have to remember the timeline and the progression of things to this point. Yes,
yes.
she cheated before, but then he circled back and decided to come up with this whole entanglement
Hmm.
where he created the you go take care of my wife because I can't do it, so I'm giving you permission to do this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. But his own family didn't like it. So once he turned around and gave her the go ahead to say, yeah, go do you, sweetie, that's not karma now.
No, it's not.
It'll be different if she cheated over and over again, and he still didn't know anything about it. She lied to him and said, I won't do it again. And she went back over to Carter's. And now he's doing it. And again, two wrongs don't make a right either. But
No.
but the thing is, this is technically not karma because they had came back to a mutual agreement. She broke up with Carter to get back right with you,
Right.
and you accepted it. And y'all was supposed to be a couple, y'all supposed to be running the company together and doing your thing, and then you decided on your own to bring Donna in this equation.
Exactly. And all the stuff that happened at the office, and whenever he told Donna that she couldn't work there anymore,
Hmm.
and now he's going to see Donna,
And he's lying about
and
going to
he's lying. That
pickleball.
is all calculated, purposeful decision making.
Yeah, that's disrespectful to Quinn now.
And to Donna too, I think. And Donna's saying, "This is our scenario is working. We're fine. It's good. Everything's good." It is not good. It's not going to be good for her. She doesn't want that. She wants him.
Yeah, she
All
wants
of
it.
him.
But see, here's the thing. When it all blow up, she gonna have to take accountability. She has a choice in
Absolutely.
this.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, as much as it looks disrespectful on its face, she's choosing to be a part of it, you
She
know?
is.
And the thing is that when if Quinn was to act out of pocket, which again is her responsibility because you don't have to choose to react. But
Yes.
the thing is that if this blows up and she's caught in the crossfire, she has to take accountability and blame herself because you chose to put yourself in that situation with a married man like him.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Now, it'd be different if Eric had a sit down conversation with Quinn and say, look, I'm not physically stimulated in our relationship with what we do. We've tried everything. It's not working. We done bought toys. We done tried books. We done tried lotions and potions and all this stuff. And it's just not
Exactly.
working. However, Donna does this for me. Either you let me go and I move forward, or you let me do me and do this, just like he did for her.
Exactly. Because if you already talked about it openly on one side, the only reason you wouldn't talk about it openly on the other side is because you're already feeling bad because you know that Quinn is trying to make it work. She's trying to,
Right.
either be responsible. So you know that that is done. Like that chapter, when she ended it, unless you spoke openly about what's happening, it should have been done.
It should have
All
been
of that
done.
nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, if you can make up an arrangement where your wife goes sleep with another man, you should also be able to have that open conversation, just like you said, Trish, with him saying, look, I need to do this on my side now. And it could work out in both people's favors. Now, again, guys, I'm not about, listen, there are different dynamics of relationships in this world. We all know that. So before you want to go in about how dare you tell them to cheat on each other, they should not be married. Listen, the Bold and the Beautiful and the writers came up with the original entanglement storyline. So what would it not be if they decided to say, you know what, we can still keep this family together. I go over there, you go with Carter. I see you when you get home. I'm not saying that's something that I would do, but it's not
Exactly.
far fetched from the soaps.
Exactly.
Hey, but the way he's doing it is going to blow up in his face. It is what it
Absolutely.
is. And Don,
It's.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just agree. I babbled over you again, agreeing with
Oh
you.
no, no, no
Yes,
problem.
absolute truth. Absolute truth. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and so when it come out, if Donna get caught up in it, you signed up for this, sweetie. I'm sorry.
Reap what you sow.
Yep, yep. Okay. Um. Now, I will say with Carter and Quinn, they need to lay out. It looks like they have a boundary, but they really need to take a step back and kind of give each other space because this could turn into something. And Paris already assumes that there's interest there. Who's to say she won't go and try to tell Eric just to blow up the spot?
That's so true. And I mean, leave the door open. Like
Yeah.
leave the office door open when you're talking to her. Like, don't shut the door. Don't go in there and shut the door. You don't need to shut the door.
Exactly. You're working. You're not doing anything, right?
Exactly. Keep the door open.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm like writers. Really, why couldn't you just keep Quinn and Eric together? They were great.
I agree. Hmm.
At some point, Eric is going to have to settle down. Really, I mean, at least with Victor, they've kept him and Nikki a while together for a while now. We don't
Hmm.
see Nikki sneaking off like when she was with Deacon or some of them other folks, or when Victor had his eyes on somebody else. They kind of moved away from that when it come to Nikki and Victor. So at some
I'm glad.
point, you need to do that for Eric.
I agree. And I want it to be with Quinn.
Yeah, leave him with Quinn. So that's just my thoughts, writers. If you're listening, pay attention to us.
We love Eric and Quinn.
Exactly. Oh my
And
gosh.
find somebody good for Donna because she does deserve somebody good too. Just not Eric.
I mean, who would be there's only one single guy right now, and that's
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean Thomas is too young, and we shouldn't
Oh,
go there. But um, only one single man that's available, and that's Carter.
yep.
You know, I mean Zende is a single guy, but who would he end up with? There's no except for Paris.
Right. Because the opposite, where the woman is the older woman with the younger man, is not done as much as the older man with the younger woman. So
Yes.
I don't know that viewers would want to see Donna and Zende together. It would kind of be the
No, I mean,
factor.
yeah, I don't think that they would want to see that. I don't know, maybe as much as they rotate new characters through the Young and the Restless, they need to bring some more folks on the Bold and the Beautiful.
I agree. Even if it's just Donna having some scenes where she goes on some fun dates, show us some escapades of Donna.
It's like they've
She's
been,
got a great sense of humor, and her timing is really good. I want to see her have like some comic relief part in all of it.
you
If
know
they're not going
what?
to give her a frontline story.
I honestly, back in the day, really enjoyed when she was with Justin.
Yeah, I was sad they made his character so diabolical.
And what happened with that? That just fell off.
He left. He just went and did something for Ridge, and then he's never been back.
Nope, he was supposed to spy on Quinn and Carter, and that was it.
That was it.
So
Another chance one.
because honestly, him and Donna have a kid. They got that. What is his son? What is their son?
Marcus.
Marcus. You know, so when they were actually trying to do that whole thing, it actually worked. Putting
It
Donna
did.
with Justin.
It did.
You know, and then where's Bill? Bill
I
is
heard. I saw. Isn't he supposed to be coming back next week sometime on the
well. I
air?
hope so, but the thing is, Katie has been MIA too.
Well, so evidently Heather Tom is real big into directing or producing now. She's working on, I think, Dynasty,
Oh, really?
doing behind the scenes work on Dynasty. Yeah, so
Okay.
I think I mean, who knows? She may wind up becoming a TV mogul or something
Well, I mean,
in real life.
then what are you gonna do with Bill? I mean, if you're gonna put Deacon, because you got okay, we forgot about Deacon. He's a single dude.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
you know, so I mean, you got Bill, who's technically single because Katie and him is divorced,
Yep.
and you got Deacon. Figure out figure out something for these guys to do. Put them into some relationships, situations, storylines, something.
I mean, figure out what tonic Brooke is drinking and drink that because
Because you're so funny.
every man is so hung up on her. Find that tonic and
Yeah,
give us all some.
yeah, you're right. You are so right. But yeah, honestly, I'm just they gotta figure instead of Carter because they've been Kim testing. That's what they're doing. They've been
Yes.
Kim testing Paris. Then they tried to Kim test Carter, and it just wasn't working because they tried them with Quinn. Then they tried them with Katie. Then, of course, now Paris situation, and then with Paris, they tried to have her go after Finn, and then you had Thomas. They tried to Kim test those two, Zende, and it's like you guys don't know where to put these people. So I don't know. It's crazy to me, but yeah. So what else? That's it. We had outside of the Steffi thing. That was pretty
Mhm.
much it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
All right. So Steffi remembers she started to have flashbacks. She realized that Sheila was the one. They decide to bring Sheila in by telling Taylor to make her feel as if she's being welcome in the family to see Hayes. Sheila
Hmm.
gets over there and realizes she's been punked. And then she gaslights the hell out of her by
I
saying, yeah, that first part
oh
before she even started blaming this on her, because that's a whole separate piece, which is what I talked about yesterday.
uh-huh.
But what do you mean? You don't know what you're remembering.
Right.
Questioning her reality. That's the true definition of a guest.
Yes, it is.
And for a while, Stephanie was like, well, wait a minute. Did I? Didn't I? Until she realized, oh no, this girl is trying to mess with my head and question, what actually happened that night. Because for a minute, her parents thought the same thing. Are you sure? Things could be still foggy. It couldn't be Sheila. She wouldn't kill their own son. But Sheila was like, you even thought that Liam was your husband. So how could you think that I was there? I'm like, oh my God, that's one hell of a gaslight.
That was diabolical.
Yes, it was. And so she stood her ground, and Taylor, because she was not only trying to gaslight Taylor, she was also trying to get Ridge and Taylor to second guess themselves too. And then the blame game.
Yeah, right. That was sick right there.
Well, I've been in this in the groups for the last 24 hours, going back and forth over this issue. There's accountability on both sides. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because most people are like, she shot him, she's the gun, here's the this, here's the that. What the writers are, and the writers are good at doing this, they know that there's a varying amount of people to watch the show. They also know that sometimes storylines can be very polarizing, right? So you'll have some folks that be like, "Yeah, I agree with she Steffi shouldn't have did what she did." Then you have another subset of folks that's like, "Oh yeah, she was the monster. She's horrible." So what they're doing by creating that variance, it keeps, and that's why everybody's going back and forth with each other in the
Hmm.
groups
Yes.
because of that. So the writers knew what they were doing by having that lead up to that point of what happened in the alley, right? So that's why I can see both sides. Sheila was horrible in what she did. But a lot of this is predicated on the fact of the stonewalling. Kind of like how we said with Kyle, because Diane is Diane too. And kind of how we said with Kyle is that you need to let him have the room to figure that out and let him make a decision. Before you came onto the show, that was one of the things Keisha and I always talked about, is that Steffi had to let Finn, who's a physician, figure out this relationship between his biological mom and whether or not he wanted to do that. She always stonewalled away. And when you're dealing with a psychopath, which is what they called her, you got to know how to move. And I think Taylor was moving the right way in the beginning by saying, keep your enemies close. Because therefore she can see, I mean, she's a professional at this, right? So for her to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna keep my eye on her. I want to see what she do. I want to see how she move. Anything out of pocket, will correct the issue. Steffi was like, no way, no ham, no burger, get out. And she also forbid her own husband for having that relationship with him too. So
She did.
go ahead.
Oh, she did do she all those things are true, and I go back to the origination of the absolute selfishness and narcissism of the psychopathic character of Sheila
Mm-hmm.
showing up at their wedding
Yeah.
uninvited,
Mm-hmm.
unwanted. They think they don't know that she's mom, the
Mm-hmm.
birth mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she started all of it.
Mm-hmm.
She caused all of this. She knew what the reaction was going to be before she did what she did from the Foresters, and she did it anyway because she didn't give a damn about her son or the Foresters or anybody else but herself, because she wanted her relationship with her son and her grandson. It has never, ever been about Finn or anybody else but Sheila for Sheila.
I understand. So would you say the same thing about Diane, because they didn't expect her to come to LA either? I mean, come to GC, until she was only supposed to show up when Jack instructed her on whether or not Kyle wanted to see her. But she came anyway.
Yeah, that's very narcissistic, and yet at the same time, I don't think Diane ever shot multiple people, so I kind of put her in a different category than Sheila,
Hmm.
because Sheila's literally pointed a gun and shot multiple people purposefully.
Yeah, well, there's quite a few narcissists on both shows. Victor
Aren't
Newman
there
is one
though?
of them.
Aren't there?
Yeah, there's several, and
Uh-huh.
it's just it's
Some are just more dangerous.
some are more dangerous. You're correct,
Yeah,
and in regards to Sheila, you when you're dealing with somebody who is that volatile, jumping in their face, yelling at them, saying that I'm in control, you don't push the buttons. We
it's a
said,
quarterback hoop.
I mean, seriously, it's just like if you're in, somebody, you see somebody with a gun, you don't go toward them and accost them and say, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You
Not
go
from
and
the
call the
front anyway.
you go and call the police. You go call somebody. You run away from the situation. Which now what I'm referring to is what happened in that alley. There were multiple occasions where Steffi could have left. She was hiding when she heard the whole Thomas thing.
That's true.
It would have been in your best interest to take that information back to your
Right.
husband, take that information back to your family, pull Thomas's coattail. Listen, I saw you with Sheila Carter in the alley. I heard what you were talking about. What the French toast is wrong with you and what's going on. That's how you do that. You don't jump in a monster's face. And even when that did happen, because there was the scene where Sheila pushed her up on that garbage dumpster
Right.
and she said, "You know what? I don't want anybody to get hurt." She took her hands off her and said, "No, I don't want to do this." Steffi leaves. And there was space between them because in that video I did yesterday, and if you guys haven't seen it, it's for the YouTubers. It's on the CBS Recap channel, so go check it out, and I'll send you a copy of it as well,
Thank you.
Trish. But in that clip, there's a ton of space between them, even at some point where Steffi was actually closer to the door out to the street and Sheila was standing by the wall by the garbage can. Why are you still hurling insults and things in this situation when you got the information that you needed? You should have left. She didn't. And that's
Ego, pride.
Say it again. Ego and pride. And that's exactly what I said in the groups. And people thought I was nuts. Oh, she shot her. I said, yeah, but to every ending, there's a path on how you got there.
Hmm.
You know,
All of that is true.
you don't argue with a crazy person. We said that several times with Ashland Locke. You
Yes.
don't and he's mild. I mean, I don't know about bodies or anything. Well, yeah, he does. He has his
He
best
pays
friend.
other people to shoot his, he
You're
pays other
right.
people to do his dirty work
He
and he
did leave
can't
his
afford
best
it.
friend in the car and he stole inheritance, right?
Right.
But even still, you don't poke the bear.
No, you do not.
And like I was talking to another fan. They said one of the things that Sheila should have did, I mean not Sheila, that Steffi should have did is said, you know what, fine, I'll keep the secret. She could have easily got out of that situation and then told the world, told the world.
Well, she did go tell Finn.
She told Finn about that situation, but the whole conversation in that alley, it shouldn't have went the way that it did. You know what I'm
She shouldn't
saying?
have gone to the alley. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you saw your brother, you got the information, your brother left. That was your cue to leave, not to assert your ego in that moment.
Right.
So there was a back and forth. It's in the several groups because I post a video in some of the groups and people's like, how could you justify her? I'm not justifying her behavior. I'm just saying there's a little bit of accountability to go around,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's no way Sheila should have shot Steffi either. Because even after she shot her son, She still made a conscious decision to shoot Steffi, leave them for dead, take their
Uh,
wallets, take
yep.
their jewelry, and then tried to lie about it. She tried to end her life. It didn't work. And she thought she was going to go through life and nobody know the wiser and that Steffi was never going to remember. So that's what I'm saying. There's accountability to go to. I'm not absolving Sheila at all. You killed your son, mistake or
Right.
not.
Right. And even taking into consideration, I saved Taylor's life. Well, yeah, but she would have never been on the roof in the first place if it weren't for you.
Exactly.
So you don't get credit for that. Sorry.
Yeah, you don't. She tried. She definitely tried. So yeah, I'm gonna go in on Sheila too, but I've seen this pattern over the past several months, and I'm like, Steffi, this is not gonna end well. You gotta let your husband try to figure out what he want to do with this woman before it gets too bad. And then again, like we was talking about in the alley. So oh my God. Um, I'm curious on what happens to Kimberly Brown now. Is she leaving? Is she? Because I think she's going to be arrested next week.
That's what it looks like.
From what I saw on the previews, is that the cops, but they said that there's supposed to be some big thing that's going to happen then, though. So it's not just going to be a simple arrest. What is she going to do? Is she going? I saw. I don't know where I saw that article, but something huge is about to happen in all of this. So we gotta wait and see. Hopefully, Bold and the Beautiful, um, the staff put out because they usually put out previews over the weekend for the
Uh
new
huh.
week. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I usually post them to the YouTube channel. They're usually creatively done, so I usually keep you guys updated with the fun stuff. But um, yeah, they said that it's going to be a very, did they use the word explosive or controversial? It was one of those two, and it's supposed to be next week. So I'm curious to see what happens next because the only thing that can happen, because as they ended the episode today, Ridge was like, I'm going to see you rot in prison. As long as I
Yeah.
live, you ain't never getting out.
Well, and where there's nowhere to go. Like
Yeah.
she's guilty. She's a criminal. She's a psychopath. There's no redemption at this point.
Nope.
The reason she even gets to take credit for saving Taylor is because she's the one who caused it. There's, she can't donate an organ and make anybody feel better. There's not, there's nowhere to go. So,
Yeah, she's
I
written
mean,
into a corner.
to me, and I know a lot of people love the character because it's fun to watch her and I get all of that and everything. But I was annoyed whenever they brought her back from the dead the first time.
They kept bringing her back. I mean,
Why
gosh.
are you bringing Sheila Carter back? She's already like been, this Sheila. Then she had a different face. Then
Mhm.
she was dead. Then she came back with her old face. And
Mhm.
now she's Ben's mom and infiltrating the Forrester family and causing mayhem. And
Mhm.
just be done with this character already. I'm ready to kick dirt.
Yeah, well, I mean, now what happens to Taylor and Ridge? Because I also got, like I said, I try to sift through what I see. One of the things that Ridge tells her, because I don't like the fact that they wrote that storyline where Sheila broke sobriety belonging to Brooke. I mean, that's horrible.
Yep,
Now, what happened after that with her choosing to kiss Deacon? That's on Brooke. I'm sorry,
absolutely.
you know. So, I mean, again, there's a because somebody was like, "Oh, you're a Logan fan. You hate Steffi." I'm like, "Nope." There's accountability to go around, including Brooke too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I laugh at that because even even if you're like Team Logan or Team Forrester or Team Steffi, Team Hope, Team Brooke, Team Taylor, whatever, you love them all. You either
Mm-hmm.
love them or you love to hate them, but you love them all.
Yep.
And sometimes you love them, and sometimes the same ones you loved last week you're annoyed with, and you can't stand them this week. And
Exactly.
I love Brooke, I love Taylor, I love Hope, I love Steffi, I love all these characters because I invite them in my home every day, and they're a blast to watch. And I don't know what's going to happen with Ridge and Taylor, and I don't know what's going to happen with Ridge and Brooke, but I'm going to tune in to find out.
Yeah,
I'll tell
tell
you
me
that.
about it. Brooke still, because Ridge wanted, and Keisha and I talked about this before, right before you came on. The one thing we assumed is once it came out that Sheila was behind the alcohol label switch, Ridge was going to absolve Brooke completely.
Yep.
And sure enough, he tried to in today's episode.
Hmm.
And it's
Everything that happened after that is on you, being Sheila.
yeah, because he said, "Oh yeah, then she broke us. Yeah, all this stuff happened because of you." And I got to give it to the writers because a lot of times they don't have a comeback for some of the characters when they're being, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so she's like, "Yeah, I switched the labels, but her kissing Deacon, that's all on her." And I couldn't do nothing with that. I just was like, "Well,
There, where's the lie?
where's Because I mean, how many people go have a drink, maybe even get a tipsy and go around kissing people?
I no.
No, there's something or some part of Brooke that was still emotionally tied to Deacon, and Ridge has to see that part. Yes, you get to blame Sheila for the whole breaking sobriety, but that kissing
Yes,
part,
there
no.
was definite chemistry there between
Oh,
those two.
absolutely.
I mean, there's like a spark between those two, and I think it's because they both don't come from much. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
they had to fight and scrap for everything,
Mhm.
and I think that's where the silver spoon hurts Ridge because Brooke and Deacon actually really do get one another. I still think it was disgusting that he cheated on Bridget with her mother,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all of that, and there been a lot of times where I'm the one saying online, whenever the Logans are being holier than thou, you need to
Right.
remind what she did. You need to remind Hope how she was bred because it wasn't pretty, and
Mhm.
it was painful for more people than it was joyful for. And of course, you always love the baby. You never blame the baby. And at the same time, if you're being sanctimonious about things, you kind of need to be put in your place.
Right.
That's from the petty side of Trish.
Right. I heard that. Go ahead, Petty Trish. That's funny. But yeah, I he has to deal with that part. He just can't say, "Oh, this is all Sheila's fault." Yeah, Sheila did a big part of it, but the kissing, she didn't go in there until Brooke kissed that man, and that's can you believe that was New Year's Eve? That's almost 6 months ago, and we
This
still
year,
haven't touched that story. They didn't complete that storyline.
they did not.
You
They did
know,
not. Oh, and what about Brooke taking up for Deacon whenever he and Rich were in that fight? There was no alcohol
yeah, she
involved
was
in that.
sober.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
He was sober. So, I mean, listen. And then the fact that the man was able to go upstairs and sleep in Ridge's bed. We can't forget about that either. I
Let's see.
mean, she could
Yeah.
have easily. Here's the thing Ridge has been telling her for months, and Hope has been fighting with Ridge on this as well about Deacon coming to the house,
Walking in the door.
walking in the door. If you want to have a relationship with your daughter, have at it. But you know what? Go down to the cabin.
Right. Or better yet, meet off site.
As something. Respect my husband, respect my house. And because they didn't, and they was like, "Oh, he's not that bad, and he's Hope's father, and I don't want to." I
Yeah.
get it, but there could have been arrangements made,
Yep. I agree. 100%.
And again, like I said about what happened in the alley, there's always a pathway to an ending.
Yep, there
They
is.
they took that path with Ridge going back and forth over Deacon, and oh, it's not that bad, and not taking him seriously. Here comes New Year's Eve, even though you're drunk. Yeah, you kiss him. He's sleeping in the bed with you, and then at the same time, when a fight break out, you stick up for him, not your husband.
Exactly.
That's on you.
Absolutely. And I
So,
mean, they were sitting so close, and she got up and was flitting around that room. And
mm-hmm.
yeah, that was the champagne part. But when she sat back down
Mm-hmm.
and they were 2 inches away from each other,
Yep.
she could have backed away, but she chose to lean forward.
Or send him home because he left and came back. Remember, he left his phone.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that she could have done, just like there's a lot of things Steffi could have done.
Yes.
That's why when I was talking to people about this yesterday and part of this morning, it's like, listen, you got to see where it started from and how it ends up. Everybody got a piece of accountability in this.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
And I mean, even Deacon has some accountability because Ridge don't want you there, and you keep coming.
And you know what's funny about you saying Deacon has accountability? In
Hmm.
this moment,
Hmm.
Deacon may only be on one show, but Deacon has accountability on two right now.
I know. I was wondering if they were going to tie that into Diane.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, he does. Because he got an answer for the fact that he was able to help Diane escape. So I'm wondering if the writers are going to bring him as a crossover or something.
Well, I wouldn't mind that. I really like the actor, Sean Kane. I think he's a great actor. He's
Hmm.
definitely got a fantastic voice. It's really fun to watch his character unfold.
You know what? I honestly, if the writers had played this right and they wanted to keep Kimberlyn around, why not put him with Deacon? I mean, why not put Sheila and Deacon together and see what they could have done? Because he really was cool with her. What do you think?
I don't
You
know.
don't know about that one?
No, I don't know about that one. I mean,
Okay.
well, first of all, you know how I feel. I'm ready to kick dirt. So
You ready for her to go, huh?
I am. I may not be the best person to ask for that part.
Okay, I got you. Hey, listen, I'm here for your opinion and your thoughts. So if you don't like it, cool. It's cool. But I don't know. I guess because Sheila Carter has become a household name to be the villain on
Yeah.
both soaps, there's nothing. Could you actually redeem her? If you put her in a redeeming character, she probably would be absolutely boring.
She would be boring, and they'd have to give her a frontal lobotomy for that to happen. So
I mean,
I don't.
go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
don't see anything redeemable. Like I really don't. Now, what could be good is if she goes to prison,
Hmm.
and then maybe in a couple of years they're transferring her, and she escapes and winds up doing something else down the line. Bring her in for a story here and there, kidnap Hayes, whatever, make Hayes safe again. That kind of thing. I'm still hoping they bring Finn back. I may be silly and even thinking that he might show up again, but I mean, if they keep bringing people back from the dead, I don't see why not.
You're so funny. What you said? While you're at it, you brought Diane back. You brought Adam back several times. Now you got Sheila back. Why not? You know.
Oh, what if they brought Ryan back on YNR for Victoria? Remember Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, how many people
I
you
mean, they
gonna
won't,
do?
but
Yeah, at some point, it's nice to get new folks on there.
it
Because if you're
is.
gonna bring back somebody, you need to bring Ray back too.
Uh, honestly, Ray and Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Why
Yep.
they always kill the good guys?
Yeah, and it was the villains. It had no, because the way they painted Ray was as the natural causes. So
Yeah, they. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
at first it was Ashland's situation, but that's no, they're really, like I said, they really want to detach and clean up that storyline and get it gone. So it is what it is,
And we're still watching.
and we're still watching. You're absolutely correct. All right, so did we cover everything? Do you have anything else on bold?
No, I think we did everything.
Yeah, we unpacked it all.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, and then they found out Thomas knew about it, so
Right.
we get to see that probably next week. Now, I did see a spoiler where Thomas had a conversation with his dad about him keeping that secret because some people in the groups actually think that Thomas is also responsible for what happened in that alley because he knew longer than anybody and didn't say anything.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I can see why people would say that too. But
Yeah.
still, yeah, it's all true.
Yeah, because if he had a blew that whole thing up with Sheila, they would have, of course, obviously, Finn would have found, oh my God, Mom, this is horrible. This is crazy. It would have just been out in the open, but because he kept that secret, and then that led Steffi to try to figure out what's going on, and then her behavior, it's just again a lot of accountability to go around.
Domino.
Domino effect, absolutely. A path to an ending. All right, so it was a good one. Let's do our flip the script, and we're going to close this particular episode out. So, for those again, what a flip the script segment is that if there's a particular storyline or scene that we wish we could change, this is where we flip the script. So, what do you have for this week of May 9th through 13th for the Young and the Restless and the Bold and the Beautiful?
So on The Young and the Restless, I I really wanted something to happen with regard to Ashland and Billy, because Billy was right. And
Mm-hmm.
while all these people are running into him, they're running. I mean, this is lackluster. I really want. I mean, Billy's doing this podcast, which to me, I'm over that.
Mm-hmm.
I I want him to confront Ashland in such a way that Ashland's face cannot be saved to anyone in Genoa City.
Okay, gotcha.
I really want Billy to get his due comeuppance on being right about Ashland.
Gotcha.
It was just like this little thing in passing where you were right about Ashland. It's a big deal. He lost
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Yep.
So that's what I would have flipped on the whole Ashland confrontation type
Okay.
thing happened recently.
Okay.
On Bold and the Beautiful, whenever Sheila started gaslighting Steffi,
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved nothing more than to see Taylor push Sheila, and then Sheila continue to be combative, and then Steffi push Sheila back,
Mm-hmm.
and have then Taylor push Sheila, and then Rich push Sheila, where Sheila's kind of like a pinball between the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have liked to have seen that scene in somewhat of a kind of a psychotic break for Sheila,
Mm-hmm.
where she wound up, the camera angles doing the shoot where it shows her, being pushed into Ridge's face, pushed into, and all her face, her facial expressions are so good.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted a scene shot like that where they were physical, because the anger is so visceral. And the way that Finn died and the way Steffi was shot was so visceral that I think there needed to be some kind of physicality played out with
Mm-hmm.
them getting to lay hands on her without actually hurting her, but causing her to have an absolute breakdown on the like in the middle of the floor at the cliff house. So if she's not going to go off the cliff, let her go out of her mind at the cliff house.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's something big supposed to happen with that next week. So maybe you might get your wish.
I just might.
You so funny.
What do you think? What's your flip the script?
Okay, so for the Young and the Restless, and I didn't address this, but they needed, and we should have talked about that. Sharon's mental state. Sharon is processing this whole thing the way she feels best, and everybody keep wanting her to break apart. And people handle grief differently, and however she's handling it, whether she's internalizing and processing it, she's going to do it her way. So I was kind of hoping that they would just let live. Now you can be concerned and stand off and watch, but every 5 seconds they were like, "Are you okay? Do you want me to take this to the room? Go to sleep, get a meal, get a bite." And it's like, okay, I get it. And I get the empathy and the sympathy. And it's admirable because she has a huge support system. But she's trying to process this in a way that she can mentally handle it. So I would have wanted that to be, but that's something that's not my flip. We forgot to touch on that earlier. Um, what? You about to say something?
I'm just laughing because there's so many things that happened this week. I can't believe we forgot to unpack that.
Yes, I know,
It
and
was a lot.
it was a lot. I know. I mean, did you have a quick thought on that, or no? Not really.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree because it's to me, she doesn't need a babysitter. She's a grown woman. She's
Right.
had all of these classes and she's got her degree.
Right.
So let her exercise it in her way and get off her back. If she needs to, she'll let you know.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, everybody. Nick was like, oh, giving her the weird eye, and I know poor Faith. She's a kid, so I got to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that one we excuse.
Yeah, but everybody else is like she's gonna crack into 1,000 pieces, and she's like, guys, chill out. Let me do me. Let me process this. If I need you, I'll let you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my flip for this week, for the Young and the Restless, would have been that whole thing with Victor and Michael. Michael needs to set boundaries with Victor because as much as he didn't get him killed, the things that he's asking him to do has nothing to do with his lawyer attorney background. I mean, and granted, he's choosing to say yes, but at some point it's like, dude, you are not 007 Private Eye. I mean, come on.
Well, right? And you're not getting any younger.
And you're not getting any younger. So listen, Victor, if you want me to check into some information online, or you want me to call some people, I'm okay with that. But to actually get in the trenches and half near kill myself, I don't think I want to do that again. Somebody's car is honking. Sorry, guys.
Oh no,
Do you hear it?
I do a little bit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. They cut it off. All right. And then for Bold, my whole thing, I'm not, because I've already said my piece with Sheila and the video from yesterday. But when it comes to Quinn and Eric, they need to have a conversation because what he's doing is not fair, especially after what they came out of. And we kind of talked about that a little earlier. If you want to your, get your mojo going over here, you need to have that open conversation to say, hey, look, this is the situation, blah, blah, blah. And I know that you and Carter had something going. Maybe we can figure something out, or maybe we need to break up. So they need to have a conversation. That's what I would hope for. And
I
that's
agree.
it. That is it. So I enjoyed it. It was a good one. We had a lot to unpack in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed us as well today. It was pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next week. All right.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We going to talk about it. All right. So until the next recap, you guys have a great week and we will talk to you soon. Bye.